Welcome to Rob Schmitt Tonight. Obviously, breaking news off the top. You know what it is, and what we just witnessed is an escalation of American political corruption that will lead this country nowhere good. If you thought this country was divided this morning, just you wait. The cowards of the left doing what they always seem to do historically, unwilling to implement a political agenda that's supported by voters, the people they control. They fix the system to retain power in any way possible. And in the United States, that now means corrupting our justice system, and they have done that. Now, there are people out there who believe the allegations that we saw here against Trump in this case were likely true. It's plausible, right? A cover-up a dalliance with a porn star, conceal the payoff, blah, blah, blah. It's not the point. Regardless of guilt or innocence, for whatever the hell this thing was, the case was trash to begin with. And we know this. These charges are never brought against anybody. This was the bookkeeping equivalent of a parking ticket. This was a misdemeanor that is always ignored, juiced into 34 felonies by a very pathetic, very partisan man, a Soros-funded Marxist who's running the Manhattan DA's office, and he is operating inside of the political realm of the American left. And that is his primary priority. As Manhattan, as New York falls apart, they focus solely on convicting Donald Trump because the only thing they care about is retaining power. Alvin Bragg spoke just a few minutes ago.
I want to thank this phenomenal prosecution team, embodying the finest traditions of this office: professionalism, integrity, dedication, and service. They are model public servants, and I am proud and humbled to serve side by side with them.
Side by side, literally. I don't know if we can pull that back up, but they had Matthew Colangelo. They had the guts to have Colangelo standing right next to him as he said this, as he talked about their integrity. Former number 3 at DOJ, as swampy as they come, the little guy on the right, moved to New York on a mission to imprison Donald Trump. Yeah, so much credibility. The guts, the cojones they have to just put him in the press conference. And of course, nobody in the media decides to ask, hey, Matthew Colangelo, what the hell are you doing here? Why did you leave number 3 at DOJ to move in and be Alvin Bragg's number 4 and run this pathetic little misdemeanor case against Donald Trump if this isn't political? I would have loved to have seen that worm try and skirt out of that question and figure out a way to answer it. In this country, political elite typically see anything that they do tossed aside, anything criminal, felony, no matter what it is. They get away with anything they want. And now we see Trump, and they turn misdemeanors into felonies. Look at what they brushed aside for Hillary Clinton. What did she do to those laptops? Look at the corruption they're ignoring for this half-alive race baiter that's living in our White House right now. How many millions? How many shell companies to conceal the money? What about Ukraine? What about Russia? Millions for a meeting? A lunch at a restaurant in D.C.? Nobody cares. But a misdemeanor in New York from 7 years ago, hush money payment, bookkeeping, throw them in prison. Blind justice is dead. This is a pathetic moment. Here was the president earlier today.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
That's exactly right. November 5. They're popping bottles tonight. Let's see how long they're happy before they're crying again. The judge in this case, a Democrat donor whose daughter has made a fortune off the case. The star witness is making a fortune off this verdict. And right now, as I said, they're all popping the champagne. Their reckoning will come in November. They have assured that now. Imagine a felony case against Donald Trump in Manhattan. No change of venue allowed. Put it in suburban Pennsylvania or Michigan. You could even put it in a blue state. Put it in a moderate district. Nope. They had their judge shopped, leave it on the most anti-Trump island on the planet. Works for them. In addition to Trump, Biden donor Juan Merchan also presided over the case against Alan Weisselberg from his organization, as well as Steve Bannon's fraud case. What a strange coincidence. You'd think there's only 2 judges in this whole state. Just a reminder, this is just a sampling of the liberal criticisms of this Trump case. And we're going to show you just how many of them there were here in a second. We're going to start with CNN's legal analyst wondering how Michael Cohen somehow wasn't charged, but Donald Trump was. Take a listen to this.
The fact that he was never charged with larceny is important because stealing $60,000 through fraud, which would be larceny in New York State, is more serious of a crime than falsifying business records.
I doubt the New York indictment would have been brought against a defendant whose name was not Donald Trump.
I couldn't today convict beyond a reasonable doubt.
There is reasonable doubt all over this case. It's simply about, did the former president know that books, his records, false entries, for legal fees, Michael Cohen was his lawyer.
As I talk to voters across the country in these battleground states, many of them aren't paying attention at all and are disgusted and sort of tired with this.
And all of these networks, by the way, are now telling us about how credible this jury was and how wonderful this verdict is. Disgusted and tired from this is what the last political analyst there from CNN said. Disgusted and tired from this is what most Americans are. Now, there's a group of people sitting at the courthouse right now that are just tears of joy, right? What do most people think about this? What do most voters in this country think? Well, they're probably just getting an alert on their phone. They're saying, yeah, I kind of figured that was going to happen. Who actually thought that he was going to get away with this? I thought there was a decent chance for a hung jury because I thought there had to be one person in this thing. But what you didn't account for was the fact that the judge was just going to put his butt right on the scale and sit right on it. And they're building a new base for Trump with this behavior. And that is the pissed off independent voter. Bill Ackman just decided to support Donald Trump today. People are awakening to what is happening here. We talked to one of these people yesterday outside Trump's trial. This is a guy that lives just a few blocks from the courthouse, came to see what this was all about. He's never voted for Trump. 16, he was Hillary. 20, he was Biden. He's going to vote for Trump this year. Check it out.
I think it's a little ridiculous that in a city where you won't lock up a common criminal, you're going to put a guy who's running for president through all this all this crap where, months before he's running for president, it just so happened to occur to you that maybe he committed some crimes. I didn't vote for him the past 2 elections, I'll be honest. And when I say I'm a supporter, I'm somebody who doesn't support every single thing he says or even does. But at this point, they got me to a place where I will pull the lever for this guy because, what they're doing to him is disgusting, and I think the person we have in office right now is incompetent.
They've taken it too far to where they've awakened independent minds like yourself.
Sure, I think this backfired on them completely because, I think they're kind of crapping their pants a little bit because this has made him more appealing to someone like me, and even people who I talk to on a daily basis who may not even like him as a person, but the idea of him being perhaps thrown in jail would be crazy. Like, what kind of country is this?
I don't think that they understand how obvious this is to most thinking people that aren't immersed in the media, that aren't fully on one side or the other. And that's millions of people in this country. That's a guy that didn't vote for Trump in 2016 or 2020. That's a guy that doesn't like Trump. That's a Manhattan resident, lives in lower Manhattan, a few blocks from the courthouse, doesn't really like Trump and is going to vote for him because he can see how obvious this is. We just heard the same thing from Dennis Quaid, who's a movie star. He doesn't even like Trump. Called him an a-hole, says, I'm going to vote for him anyway. People see what's going on. This is bigger than politics. It's bigger than Trump and Biden. It's bigger than this moment. It's bigger than this next election. This is serious perversion and corruption in this country. And we're sitting here watching it happen to us. If they start moving this direction, you don't come back from things like this. The division that will be created by this is powerful. We were already divided. The clown in the White House came in and said he was going to bring us together and spent 4 years dividing us as much as he can. Racially, on every possible way. Because the country's better for them when we are this divided. This will only make it worse.